Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. We've got a really critical update from the cybersecurity world today that absolutely demands your immediate attention. We're looking at the May 2026 Security Advisory for Ivanti Endpoint Manager Mobile, or EPMM as you probably know it. Now, what makes this advisory so incredibly urgent is that it discloses 5 high-severity vulnerabilities. But there's a fascinating twist to this story. We aren't just going to talk about the vulnerabilities themselves, we're going to explore exactly how Ivanti found them. Spoiler alert, it actually involves integrating advanced AI models directly into their internal red teams, which is literally changing the game for how 0 days are identified. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the May 2026 EPMM update. Second, the 5 high-severity CVEs. Third, AI in the red team. Fourth, assessing the impact. And fifth, immediate remediation steps. All right, Section 1, the May 2026 EPMM update, addressing critical risks. 5. That number right there on your screen is your key takeaway for the immediate threat level. There are exactly 5 high-severity vulnerabilities disclosed in this single update. So yeah, this isn't just your routine maintenance patch, it's a major security event. In the modern threat landscape, even a single high-severity vulnerability is cause for alarm, right? But 5 bundled together? That means IT and security professionals need to prioritize this advisory immediately to prevent any potential exploitation. Moving on to Section 2, 5 high-severity CVEs, breaking down the vulnerabilities. Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer spectrum of severity we're dealing with. All 5 are rated high, but just look at that peak 8.9 CVSS score for CVE 2026-5787. That is an improper certificate validation flaw that actually allows an unauthenticated remote attacker to impersonate registered Sentry hosts and, get this, obtain valid CA-signed client certificates. The remaining 4 range from 7.0 to 8.0, and they cover additional improper access control and improper input validation flaws. But when we split these 5 vulnerabilities apart, a really clear contrast emerges. On one side, we have CVE 2026-6973. Ivanti notes that they are aware of a very limited number of customers who have actually been exploited by the specific flaw, though it is important to point out that successful exploitation of this one requires admin authentication. But look at the other side. The other 4 high-severity vulnerabilities, they were proactively discovered. There is no known exploitation of those 4 in the wild at the time of disclosure. And honestly, finding 4 out of 5 severe flaws before the threat actors do is a massive win for defensive security. Which brings us to Section 3, AI in the red team, the paradigm shift in defense. So how exactly did Ivanti manage to proactively discover those 4 unexploited vulnerabilities? Well, the answer is artificial intelligence. Take a second to read this quote directly from Ivanti. Advanced AI models have collapsed the time to exploit from days to hours after disclosure. That perfectly encapsulates the rapidly shrinking attack window we are dealing with today. Because threat actors are out there leveraging AI to weaponize vulnerabilities almost the second they're announced, defending against them manually it's no longer sufficient. You really can't bring a knife to a laser fight. Defenders have to match the speed and sophistication of the attackers, and that absolutely necessitates a fundamental shift in how security teams operate. And this brilliantly illustrates that exact shift. On one side, we've got traditional security tooling, static and dynamic application security testing, SAST and DAST. While they're useful, for sure, they definitely have their limitations. On the other side, we have the new approach, advanced large language models. Ivanti recently kicked off a project to integrate multiple advanced LLMs directly into their engineering and product security red teams. The result? These AI models successfully identified vulnerabilities that the traditional SAST and DAST tools completely missed. In fact, some of those proactively discovered vulnerabilities we just talked about were found exactly this way. The way this AI integration works is both highly aggressive and highly responsible. First, obviously, the goal is proactively discovering 0 days to increase product resilience. But they aren't just letting AI run totally unchecked. A core commitment here is keeping a human in the loop to verify any of that automated or agentic work. Now, because these AI tools are so insanely effective, Ivanti is explicitly stating that they're preparing for an uptick in vulnerability disclosures. Basically, more bugs are going to be found. But rather than hiding that, they are championing responsible transparency. They view this expected increase not as a bad thing, but as a hugely positive sign their products are actually keeping pace with modern security requirements. All right, Section 4, assessing the impact. Who is affected? So now that we understand the vulnerabilities and how they were found, let's figure out if your specific environment is currently at risk. The crucial point here is knowing your infrastructure. If you are running the on-premise EPMM, specifically versions 12.8.0.0 and prior, you are in the crosshairs and you need to act. However, if you rely on their cloud-based solutions like Ivanti Neurons for MDM or their other cloud offerings, you are completely unaffected. And importantly, the Ivanti Sentry appliance itself does not contain these vulnerabilities. Now, for those of you who are on the affected on-premise EPMM, this is a critical piece of advice. Review and rotate your admin credentials. Why is this so vital? Well, remember that the one actively exploited vulnerability we mentioned, CVE 2026-697-3, requires admin authentication. Furthermore, Ivanti notes that if your organization was exploited back in January by CVE 2026-1281 and CVE 2026-1340, and you followed the recommendation to rotate credentials back then, your risk of exploitation right now is significantly reduced. But the most conservative and highly recommended approach today is for all customers to review their accounts with admin rights and just rotate those credentials immediately. Better safe than sorry. And finally, Section 5. Immediate remediation steps, securing your environment. All right, here is your exact technical workflow. Step 1, head over to the Ivanti download portal and grab the latest patch versions. Depending on your current track, you're going to need version 12.6.1.1, 12.7.0.1, or 12.8.0.1. Step 2, apply that update to your ETMM appliance. Step 3, as we literally just discussed, rotate those admin credentials. And here is a really beneficial detail for IT teams. These new patched versions actually contain the fixes for the older January vulnerabilities too. That means if you update your appliance to one of these resolved versions today, you don't need to go back and apply the separate RPM package that was provided back in January 2026. It is an all-in-one fix, which is great. Oh, there is one quick yet really important caveat regarding Ivanti Sentry. As I mentioned earlier, existing Sentry deployments are not vulnerable to these specific CVEs, so you don't have to update your current Sentry appliances just to fix this issue. However, if you are planning to add a brand new Sentry server to your deployment after your EPMM has been updated, you absolutely must use the newly released Sentry versions. Those are versions 10.4.2, 10.5.1, or 10.6.1. Just keep that dependency in the back of your mind for any future infrastructure scaling. So we've covered the vulnerabilities, the remediations, and the incredible role AI played in discovering these threats. But honestly, this leaves us with a larger, absolutely crucial question for the future of IT infrastructure. As AI red teaming accelerates the rate of vulnerability discovery, bringing an expected uptick in disclosures from vendors like Ivanti, is your organization prepared for an era of constant rapid patching? Because that window between discovery and exploitation is shrinking from days to hours. The tools are getting faster, and our defensive workflows simply have to follow suit. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Go get those EPMM systems patched, rotate your credentials, and stay secure out there.